hand cracks across a soldier's face in the middle of a packed airplane. The sound is sharp, shocking. The cabin goes silent. What happens next, though, isn't about revenge. It's about a single, quiet phone call that supposedly brings an entire commercial flight to a grinding halt. This is the story of The Soldier Who Grounded the Plane, a tale that has spread like wildfire across social media. But before we go any further, let's be crystal clear. There are no credible news reports or official records to confirm this event ever actually happened. All signs point to this being a powerful, fictional story, a modern parable. The names are made up, and the details are designed for drama, but the themes it hits on, dignity, respect, and accountability, those are as real as it gets. Today, we're breaking down the story that so many people feel, deep down, need it to be true. It was supposed to be a routine flight, but on this plane, a flight attendant, allegedly driven by prejudice, assaults a uniformed soldier in front of dozens of passengers. Her biggest mistake wasn't just the slap itself, it was who she slapped. Because in the story that went viral, this soldier wouldn't just get an apology, he'd ground the entire plane. In this viral tale, our hero is a man named Sergeant Marcus Thorne, though no record of a real soldier with this name involved in such an incident exists. He's not just a passenger, he's a symbol. He's painted as a decorated soldier who has dedicated his life to his country. His uniform is crisp, his posture's perfect, his presence calm and unshakable. He's the very picture of discipline and honor. The story often adds layers of detail to make him more sympathetic. Maybe he's flying home to see family after a long deployment, or he's on his way to receive an award. He's portrayed as a man who has stared down real danger overseas and handles pressure with ease. He's polite, professional, and quiet. This setup is crucial because it establishes him not as an aggressor, but as a man of deep integrity. He represents service and sacrifice, and it's this man who is about to be publicly humiliated. As the story goes, the conflict doesn't start with violence, it starts small. The flight attendant, often named Charlene Hunt in these retellings, is instantly dismissive of Sergeant Thorne. Maybe she sneers when he asks for help with a bag, or deliberately ignores his request for water. She might smile at every other passenger, but give him a cold, clipped tone. These are the kinds of small insults meant to make someone feel unwelcome. In the story, Thorne sees them for what they are, but his discipline keeps him from reacting. He stays courteous, always saying please and thank you, trying to de-escalate with his calm demeanor. His restraint only makes the flight attendant's hostility seem more obvious and uncalled for. You can feel the tension building in the cabin as other passengers start to notice. The plane becomes a pressure cooker of social friction, climbing toward a confrontation at 30,000 feet. And then it happens. The story's breaking point usually comes from something trivial, a dropped pen, a reclined seat, a simple question. The flight attendant, her face twisted in anger that makes no sense for the situation, unleashes her rage. Her hand flies through the air. The crack of the slap cuts through the engine noise. Gasps echo through the cabin. Passengers look up from their books and screens, their eyes wide with disbelief. A line has been crossed. This isn't just bad service anymore. It's assault. A uniformed member of the military has been physically struck by a crew member in front of everyone. The shock is real. The story often says that phones, almost by instinct, come out to record the aftermath, though no such viral video actually exists. The flight attendant herself seems stunned by what she's done, a look of horror spreading across her face. But it's too late. The whole cabin holds its breath, waiting to see what Sergeant Thorne will do. Will he explode? Will he yell? He does none of those things. What happens next is the core of the story's appeal, the moment it becomes a fantasy of perfect justice. Sergeant Thorne doesn't jump up in anger, he doesn't fight back, he doesn't even raise his voice. Instead, he just sits there for a second, his face a mask of calm composure. His training kicks in, not combat training, but the training that teaches discipline under extreme pressure. Then, with a steady hand, he pulls out his phone. He makes one quiet call. The story is vague on who he's calling, a commanding officer, a military contact, but it doesn't matter. What matters is the effect. In a low, firm voice, he reports what happened. He's a U.S. soldier on official business who has just been assaulted by a crew member, creating an unsafe and hostile environment. Now, let's be clear. This is where the story truly becomes fiction. In reality, a soldier can't ground a commercial airliner with a phone call. Airline operations and the flight crew are the only ones with that authority, and law enforcement would typically get involved after landing, not before. But in this story, that phone call is a key that unlocks a higher level of authority, and the power dynamic on the plane flips in an instant. Within minutes, the result of that one call becomes clear. The captain announces over the intercom that due to an unforeseen security issue, the plane is returning to the gate. Confusion ripples through the passengers, but for those who saw the slap, it all makes sense. The soldier grounded the plane. When the plane docks, the door opens, and it's not the ground crew who boards. It's airport security or federal authorities. They walk down the aisle and identify the flight attendant, Charlene Hunt. She is then escorted off the aircraft in front of every passenger who witnessed her actions. It's swift, public, and decisive. The story ends with the airline's senior management meeting Sergeant Thorne on the ground with a profound apology. Justice isn't just done, it's immediate and absolute, delivering the kind of instant karma that makes these stories so satisfying to watch. Stories like this, whether they're real or dramatized, become popular for a reason. They tap into a deep desire for justice and respect, especially for those who serve. They're a powerful response to all the real-world moments of prejudice that go unnoticed and unpunished. If you believe everyone deserves to be treated with dignity, hit that subscribe button and join our community as we explore more stories like this. The story of Sergeant Thorne is more than a viral tale. It's a piece of modern folklore. The fact that it's fictional doesn't make it less meaningful. In some ways, it makes it more so. It allows us to imagine a world where a terrible wrong is made right in the most satisfying way possible. This narrative holds up a mirror, reflecting our frustrations with injustice and our collective wish for accountability. It's the fantasy of what we wish would happen when we see someone being mistreated. The soldier's calm, intelligent, and powerful response is the one many of us wish we could have in a moment of conflict. Ultimately, the story's success isn't really about a slap on a plane. It's about the powerful idea that dignity should be non-negotiable, that service deserves respect, and that sometimes the quietest voice can be the most powerful one of all.